What is going on, Ravens flock? Mr. Year here, back with you another video, and we are going behind enemy lines with the Cleveland Browns. Once again, just want to give everybody a fresh reminder of what the point of the series is and how we operate here. Um, Basically, I want to give everybody a good overview of what this team did in the offseason and a sort of glance over what the roster is going to look like, what the positional battles that they have going on is, and all of the above. And tonight it is 11:46 on a Saturday, and we are going live. I just decided, hey, you know what? Saturday night college football is over. Let's get this thing popping. Let's see if some people come in on comments, and we can get a little interaction going. If not, is what it is. But without further ado, let's go into the all-season additions and subtractions. So the Cleveland Browns obviously added Deshaun Watson, which I will get back to at the end of this segment. They added Amari Cooper. They added Jack Conklin. Technically added, he's coming back from injury. Then you have David Bell in the third round. Martin Emerson added as well. Chase Winovich, and my head is blocking it, but they added Perry and Winfrey. And then they lost Baker Mayfield. They lost J.C. Treader, who was the NFLPA president and also probably a top 10 center. They lost Jarvis Landry. They lost Austin Hooper. They lost Troy Hill, and they lost Malik Jackson. So, all in all, they sold their soul for Deshaun Watson this offseason. They gave away multiple first-round picks, and it's pretty obvious that they thought that he will be the QB of the future. And all I have to say regarding the Deshaun Watson situation is money talks, man. If either me or you, whoever's watching this, were to go out and sexually assault 22 women, we'd be behind prison bars right now. And we wouldn't be able to talk to people. We wouldn't be playing football, that's for sure. And we would be, in some states, in the death sentence. So what Deshaun Watson did was despicable. I what he did was disgusting, and I do not condone any of his actions off the field. However, Deshaun Watson, the football player, is pretty good the last time he was on the field. So it's very interesting to see what his benefits and what his impact is going to be this season. But all in all, once again, just to make it a very clear standpoint, I do not condone what Deshaun Watson did, and I think it's very disgusting. And I think Deshaun Watson is a disgusting human being. But disregarding that, Amari Cooper, they added him for fifth-round pick or so, and he is he is the wide receiver one in Cleveland this year, and it is going to be very interesting to see his impact and how the rest of the wide receiver core elevates, because I do think that they are not a super strong weapons room unless some guys step up. But let's go into the depth chart here in Cleveland, and once again, my head is blocking it. But looking defensively, you have Myles Garrett, the best edge defender in football. I think that goes without saying. I think that that's very clear and obvious that Myles Garrett is the best edge defender in football. T.J. Watt just doesn't. He doesn't hold a candle. Well, he does hold a candle, Myles Garrett. But Myles Garrett, in my opinion, is the best defender in football. And then interiorly, you have Perry on Winfrey, who's been blown up in the preseason. You have Taven Bryan, who's okay. You have Tommy Togai. He's all right. Ellie Jordan, whatever. And then you have Jadeveon Clowney opposite of Myles Garrett. So it's a good front four. I think the edge rushers will definitely bolster it. But when you come down to it, I'm not so sure that the interior of that offensive line is going to hold up. Defensive line. Excuse me. I'm not sure that the interior of the defensive line is going to hold up this year, and we'll see. We'll see. But I don't. I'm not. It's not a very bolstered group. I think if they took Christian Barmore, last year, I'd feel better about this group, but they didn't. So we'll see. I think Alex Wright can play some of the 3 tech and slide inside, and that could help him out a little bit. But they play a 4-3 here, so I doubt you're putting Alex Wright down in the guard and center spot on early downs. So without that, moving on to the linebacker group, they have JOK from last year's draft, absolute freak athlete, very confident in what he can do for them this year. I think he can establish himself as a very good coverage linebacker along with a eraser in the run defense. So very, very important for him to step up for them this year. You have Anthony Walker. He's good. He's all right. He's not a crazy linebacker, but I think you can get away with him as the Mike linebacker in this defense. And if not, you have Jacob Phillips, which is another good football player in my opinion. So not linebacker is not a crazy strength for this team, but I do think it is okay. But I do think linebacker mixed with their interior defensive line, I think they could get blown up very early, and I think the linebackers would struggle. Moving on to the secondary, which is the strength of this defense, in my opinion, you have Denzel Ward and Greg Newsome and Greedy Williams as your starting 3 currently. And then you have Grant Delpit and John Johnson as the safety duo. Very good secondary. Denzel Ward is a top 10 corner in this league. Greg Newsome is a very good ascending corner. And then you have Greedy Williams behind them. So very good starting 3, which we will get into in the key positional battles. But I'm not worried about this secondary. I think it's going to be good, and I think it's 4 deep with players that can just ball. So going to the offense, you have Amari Cooper, Donovan Peoples-Jones, and David Bell as your starting wide receivers 3s. And then you have Anthony Schwartz backing them up. And it's an okay group. It's not the biggest needle mover, but I do think when all is said and done, this wide receiver core can be top 20 or so, just off the fact of Amari Cooper carrying them and then him getting targets with the quarterbacks. So not a huge wide receiver core, not like this star-studded group, but I do think it's kind of similar to the Ravens in a sense that they have one wide receiver 1 and a bunch of other guys that are unproven. Then you have Jedrick Wills. My head is blocking it again, but you have Jedrick Wills at the left tackle spot, and then you have Joel Bitonio, Ethan Pocic, Wyatt Teller, and Jack Conklin at the right tackle spot. So all in all, very good offensive line, top 5 group in the league without a doubt, and I think that they can be a force to reckon with in this league, obviously, and it's going to carry them a lot of victories while Deshaun Watson is not playing football, along with their running game. So speaking of the running game, you have Nick Chubb, Kareem Hunt, and Jerome Ford and D'Ernest Johnson as your 4 deep running back group. I was a big believer in Jerome Ford coming out of the draft. I do think that is a huge addition for them going into future years with Kareem Hunt being displeased with his contract. D'Ernest Johnson is like the run-of-the-mill good running back too. So all in all, Nick Chubb is a very good top 10 running back. You combine that with a top 10 line. Cleveland is going to be able to run the football this year, with or without. It doesn't matter who the quarterback is. So that is a very concerning thing to me. I do think that's something you have to look at when you are looking at what life's going to be like without Deshaun Watson for those first 11 weeks. And yeah, so going on to the next spot, key positional battle, wide receiver 2. Wanted to hold this till later. So you have Anthony Schwartz, you have David Bell, and you have Donovan Peoples-Jones here in these 3. And I do think that out of these three, I think Donovan Peoples-Jones gets the first look. I think Anthony Schwartz is more of a slot wide receiver, in my opinion. And I think that Donovan Peoples-Jones is just kind of reserved for that wide receiver 4 spot. I did like what David Bell had to offer out of Purdue. I'm not like head over heels with him, but I do I do like David Bell's upside, if that makes sense. So, all in all, once again, why I think that this is a key positional battle, but I don't think it's like this very crazy group of wide receivers that are gonna blow your socks off. So those are the three wide receivers combining for a spot here. And then we will go on to cornerback 3, which is between Greg Newsome on the right and Martin Emerson on the left. So they draft Martin Emerson this year. Very instinctive, almost Marcus Peters like player where he gambles on interceptions and he plays very good coverage. And I would say that outlook wise, in future years, Martin Emerson is going to be the cornerback 3 here in Cleveland. I don't think that's too crazy to say, and I do think that all said and done, Martin Emerson and Greg Newsome battle it out for the cornerback 3 spot, and I think Martin Emerson wins it. Just based off of contractually wise, which we'll get into the end of this end of this Cleveland Browns breakdown, because Martin Emerson is going to be up. Excuse me. Greg Newsome is going to be up in contract at the end of this year. So go to the next key positional battle. So I don't think it's necessarily a positional battle, but more of a who's going to split snaps wise. I think that Grant Delpit starts at strong safety this year, but I do think Ronnie Harrison is here for a reason. I do think that Ronnie Harrison gets snaps, valuable snaps, in that fact, and I think it's a split safety role where they may put Harrison down in the box at dime linebacker on third down and move these guys around. I don't think it's just some necessarily to say already figured out strong safety spot. So that's kind of my line of thinking here. I'm not super sure that we have a starter here at strong safety that like establishes more than 70% of the snaps. So that's kind of my line of thinking here. Strong safety, I think they rotate. I just don't think it's going to be like this guy's the winner. And then with the last key positional battle, we have never mind. Big overview. So obviously they lost J.C. Treader in the offseason, and that's going to be a big hole to fill. We'll see what they do there with Ethan Pocic and all the other guys that got backing them up. So J.C. Treader was a very good center in this league, and it's going to be very interesting to see how they fill in those footsteps. But I do think that they are okay because you can hide one position on the offensive line, and everywhere else they are pretty strong at. It's just center is like just not very good. So I think they can hide center without a problem, especially in a wide zone offense. You just need a center that's athletic. Going to QB play, obviously Deshaun Watson is going to be out for 11 games, and you have Jacoby Brissett backing him up. What is he going to do? He's like a top 40 quarterback in the league. Jacoby Brissett's just not moving me at this point. So I think once Deshaun Watson comes in, maybe they jump up in quarterback play and they start winning more football games. But I think Jacoby Brissett's kind of like the guy to keep you around 500 for a while until your real QB1 comes in. And then wide receiver play. Once again, I went over it. This wide receiver core does not move me a lot. It's not a top 5, top 10, top 15 group. It's more of like the mid 20s or so in terms of talent. So there are some guys that step up if they want to jump up into that top 15 group. And then the defensive line was a question mark because the interior is not too crazy, and I think it has a lot of holes in the interior, which could lead to the linebackers getting flooded by guards and centers going to the second level, and it's all of a collaborative and collateral effect there with the D line and the linebackers. So something to look out for as a weakness for this team. And then the running back depth, which is very strong for this team. You have Nick Chubb, you have Kareem Hunt, you have Dearness Johnson, you have Jerome Ford. Four very, very good running backs, which if one went down and the other one stepped up, I wouldn't blink an eye. So that's kind of what the Clevelands are looking at here. You got a good line, good running backs, and you have a good D line in terms of edge wise and a good secondary. So very, very curious to see how they pan out this year. I do think that they are going to go 10-7. Looking at game by game, I think I can point out 7 losses on the schedule right now, and that would be the Ravens. Well, first let's start the Ravens at home or at the Ravens, October 23rd, Week 7. Deshaun Watson's original release date, whatever that means, versus the Bengals, excuse me. They lose that game. There are 2 losses right there. And then the Bills are 3, Tampa is 4, the Bengals again is 5, the Ravens again is 6, and the Saints are 7, and then they win the last 2. So I do think they sweep the Steelers in division. I'm not too crazy about the Steelers, but maybe they split and you toss another random game in there like Miami or New England or the Chargers. They probably switch out the Chargers for a Steelers loss or something. So all in all, I'm not too confident in this Browns team this year. Their quarterback's been missing for 11 weeks. He comes in for 6. That's 6 games. You have to win all 6. And look at those last 6 games. You have the Texans, the Bengals, the Ravens, the Saints, the football team or Commanders, and the Steelers. So you have 3 division opponents. You have 1 playoff contender in the Saints. You have 1 hopeful playoff contender in the Commanders. And then you have the Texans. So very hard schedule there at the end of the year. And I would not see this Browns team. I could see this Browns team missing the playoffs this year, just based off of luck and such. But it all depends on how they get this game plan going. But a look ahead to 2023 and their free agents. So you have Jack Conklin, your right tackle that I've been talking about. He's a very, very good football player. I think they are going to be pretty like focused on resigning this guy. He's 20 and a half. You should run good offensive linemen to the ground in this NFL, and I think they resign him pretty easily. I think that when you look into it, Jadeveon Clowney, it may be time to just replace him. You sign on mercenary deals for so long. Eventually, you just gotta get his replacement in the building. Kareem Hunt, same thing. Running back 2s, you can't be paying more than $5 million for it in this NFL. So I think they look to replace him with like a Jerome Ford or somebody in the next draft. Anthony Walker, I would replace him as well. I wouldn't pay him. Greedy Williams, I think, is okay to pay. He could probably come back for a cheap 2 or 3 year deal, and you're not breaking the bank for him. But besides that, this team doesn't have a lot of major free agents. Their biggest thing is going to be Deshaun Watson being a $54 million cap hit next year. So, very interesting to see how they manage their roster with that, and if they can even sign any of these guys back if they wanted to. But all in all, this Browns team is a very good defense. I think their offense is good. It just depends on where Deshaun Watson comes back and all the other things that go into their roster this year. So that about does it for the Browns going behind enemy lines video. If you guys have any thoughts or comments, drop them below. Leave a like, subscribe, share with your friends. Definitely targeting anybody who wants to just know things about other teams. And hope you guys have a good Labor Day weekend. This video should be out tomorrow. It's actually a live stream, so it'll be out tonight. But yeah. Anyways, I will see you guys on the Bengals going behind enemy lines video, where I will be joined by none other than Garnett West. So let's get it. You guys have a good weekend. Go Ravens, and I will see you guys next time. Peace.